Times to discuss their so-called fast pay program for those impacted by the Altadena-Eaton Canyon fire. We think it is neither fast nor fair, but when we organized the community town hall, Southern California Edison first confirmed participation and then abruptly canceled. There was no time available on Mr. Pizarro's calendar for a face-to-face conversation with the individuals and families who have lost everything due to the negligence of Southern California Edison. This is not an accident. This is a choice about who deserves direct engagement and who gets managed through press statements. When you talk to the LA Times about people, you control the narrative. You get to frame the issues on your terms, with your spin, filtered through journalists who may or may not push back. But when you show up to a town hall, you face real questions from real people experiencing real problems. There's no PR buffer. There's real accountability. This pattern of being available to corporate media, but unavailable for community dialogue, sends a clear message about whose voices matter and whose don't. It's the kind of disrespect that hides behind busy schedules and prior commitments, but the community sees right through it. If these issues are important enough to discuss with the LA Times, they're important enough to discuss directly with the people living them. Anything less isn't just disrespectful, it's a fundamental failure of leadership and accountability. Mr. Pizarro says in the LA Times interview, I need to go to the supermarket in Pasadena or Altadena and be able to look people in the eye. We want to do the right thing for our community. You had a chance to look folk in the eye at our town hall meeting last week, but you didn't show up. And then we invited you for a one-on-one conversation here at the station, but you have yet to confirm. So please, please stop with the gaslighting. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting a movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of, it's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was so good like this where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify when you and God in time are best aligned.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent, right here in LA with you in afternoon drive time. As always, I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app if you haven't. If you're sitting next to somebody that hasn't, tap them on the shoulder, say, download the KBLA Talk 1580 app. That way, you can listen to us live or on demand on the go. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. Don't miss some of our best episodes out there. I know life sometimes gets busy, but you can always catch up if you subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. Now, listen. The rain is coming to Southern California, and so let's all plan accordingly. Okay? Let's all plan accordingly. The Southern California rain forecast has intensified. We're expecting record-setting showers, flooding, possible mudslides. Evacuation warnings were set to go into effect across LA County this evening as atmospheric river approached Southern California, bringing with it the potential to put an early end to fire season while also bringing fresh risk of flooding and mudslides. And so under the storm scenario, deemed the most likely by forecasters, downtown LA would see a little over 2.5 inches of rain on Friday morning through Sunday. And that could be enough to flood roads, swell rivers, and creeks. And so be careful out there. And I suspect if you have the option to work from home, you might want to do that and stay off the roads. But beware. It's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off right here in California, the Justice Department sues to block California's new House maps in a clash that could tip control of Congress. The LA Times is reporting that the Department of Justice has joined a lawsuit today brought by California Republicans that seek to block the state from adopting a new congressional map and thwart Governor Gavin Newsom's plan to help Democrats seize enough seats in 2026 to control the U.S. House. Now, the redistricting plan, which Democrats say openly is an attempt to dilute Republicans' voting power in California, it was championed by Newsom as a way to offset the GOP gerrymandering in Texas and other GOP states. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember when President Trump picked up the phone to call Governor Abbott of Texas and say, hey, I need 5 seats? Sound familiar? It's kind of like when he picked up the phone in 2020 and called the Secretary of State in the state of Georgia. Hey, I need 11,000 votes. Remember that? Well, the redistricting plan here in California is really being attacked by this Department of Justice. There's no other way to look at it. The complaint filed by the DOJ in a Central California Federal District Court claims that the new congressional maps that were approved by California voters last week uses race as a proxy for politics, manipulating district lines in the name of bolstering the voting power of Hispanic Californians because of their race. Race cannot be used as a proxy to advance political interests, but that's precisely what the California General Assembly did with Proposition 50. That's what the U.S. Justice Department is alleging in their complaint. Also going on to say, quotes, the recent ballot initiative that junked California's pre-existing electoral map in favor of a rush job rejiggering of California's congressional district lines. It's an 18-page complaint joining a lawsuit filed last week by GOP Assembly member David J. Tajipa of Fresno and the state's Republican Party, alleging that the new Proposition 50 map focused on race and favored Latino voters, constituting racial gerrymandering in violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Wow. Interesting that this Department of Justice has decided that they're against racial gerrymandering. I mean, it's almost laughable because when you look at the gerrymandering done in a lot of Republican-controlled states, isn't that what they're doing? Racial gerrymandering? Trying to dilute the voting power of Black folks in places like Alabama, places like Louisiana. And so we're going to continue to keep our eye on this. But moving along, U.S. bishops officially banned gender-affirming care at Catholic hospitals. The NBC affiliate in San Diego is reporting that the U.S. Catholic bishops, they voted just yesterday to make it official, a ban on gender-affirming care for transgender patients at Catholic hospitals. These steps formalize a years-long process of the U.S. Church to address transgender health care. From a Baltimore hotel ballroom, the bishops overwhelmingly approve revisions to their ethical and religious directives that guide the nation's thousands of Catholic healthcare institutions and providers. More than 1 in 7 patients in the U.S. are treated each day by Catholic hospitals. That's according to the Catholic Health Association. It's also worth noting that Catholic hospitals are the only medical center in some communities. Major medical groups and health organizations support gender-affirming care for transgender patients. But, this is precisely the problem. If you are the only healthcare option that folks have in their community, then where else can they go for that care? Where else can they go for that care? Look, this came up in the last election. There were at least 75 million Americans. There were, I would say, millions of Americans, maybe not all 75 million, but there were millions of Americans who said they may not agree with abortion. They may not agree with transgender affirming care, but what they know for sure is they don't want the government telling people's doctors what to do. And fundamentally, I think that same principle applies here. What do you think? Get in a More Perfect group chat, sound off, and let us know. When we come forward, we're joined with Todd Belcourt, a civil rights attorney, and we're going to check in with him on a number of issues that are bubbling up in Chicago. We often say, as goes California, as goes the nation. Well, as goes Chicago, we better be on the lookout. Todd Belcourt joins us when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah. The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Hit me!
National News: The Consequence. Informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. I'm really delighted to be in conversation again with Todd Belcour. He's the Executive Director of Social Change. He's also a civil rights attorney, and he is a man on the go. Todd, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, Doctor. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. We typically say, as goes California, as goes the nation. But these days, what's happening in Chicago, we better be on the lookout, because it just may very well happen right here in California or anywhere we're at in this country. Some news being made with the district council members wanting an oversight hearing on Chicago police interaction with the Fed. What are you hearing on the ground in Chicago at this hour? We know that there is a lot of concern in cities across the country, whether we're talking about DC, Chicago, LA, about local law enforcement coordinating with the feds, particularly when it comes to these ICE raids, among other priorities of this administration.
Well, as it's been clear through many reports, but also for firsthand accounts from community members and people even within our organization, the police is actively violating the welcoming city ordinance. And that ordinance is tantamount to the sanctuary status that makes it very clear that under no circumstances is local law enforcement supposed to be involved with any federal law enforcement investigations or dealings or actions, in this case being ICE. But what's happening, as we've seen in the community time and time again, that the police are actually doing not only kind of traffic and routine things as supposed, but are going above and beyond in some instances to open up doors and evidence and access to data that the federal government should not have access to, should not have the jurisdiction over, and should not have power over. But they're taking advantage of the fact that the city police are allowing them to not only access information, but use it to lock up and detain unconstitutionally a lot of people within our city.
So, what's your advice to folks that have knowledge of the Chicago police interacting with the feds, or maybe have video of Chicago police interacting with the feds? What should they do with that video? What should they do with that information?
Well, these district meetings are the perfect opportunity to voice anything that you've seen, heard, or experienced, and making sure that we're holding police accountable, just like we're to be held to account ourselves. That is the beauty of COPA. And commissions are all responsible for making sure public safety and community relations and police are all working together and have that trust and integrity. And anything that's violative of that needs to be reported. This is a perfect forum for it. So I'm glad people are calling for these hearings. But if people have heard something or seen something, or even worse yet, experienced something, if they can share it, they should. But of course, people are always worried about retaliation. People are always worried about what happens if I do put myself out there. And that's why you have to have the village to relay it on your behalf, or have written testimony or other things that can allow for your account to be formally put into the record without necessarily exposing yourself to that level of risk.
Yeah, I mean, at this hour, as been reported by some outlets in Chicago, nearly 36 members of the local police district watchdog boards, just today, they signed a letter asking the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability to call a public hearing to investigate the actions, communications, collaboration, and operational interactions between local law enforcement and agents with ICE. We need to watch this very closely, because there are implications for cities across the country. No,
that's right. I mean, unfortunately, we are ground zero for this. So whatever happens in this hearing and the precedent that it sets allows for ICE to know whether it's something they can replicate in other cities like DC and LA, or this is finally the third rail is supposed to be, where there's not supposed to be any involvement and intermingling between the different law enforcement agencies. And that's why there's an ordinance expressly written for that particular purpose. Welcoming cities are designed to make sure that people are allowed to walk around the community, take their kids to school, go to work, all the things that people are terrified to do right now. And it's because of the bridging of this law by ICE, but also local law enforcement.
Todd, isn't this really about breaking sanctuary city ordinances across the country? In which case, the city of Los Angeles is a sanctuary city, as is Chicago, as are many major cities. Isn't this ultimately what the feds are trying to achieve? They're trying to break the welcoming cities ordinances?
It's not only about trying to pierce what's a sanctuary city and what that status actually entails. It's more about making sure that the federal government is making clear that cities and local localities no longer have sovereignty. We no longer have the power to determine what we want to do with our own residents. And that's completely violative of federalism and all the tenets of the Constitution. So it's a very conservative thought process, the federalist thought process, to make sure local government can determine local things. And for the federal government in this instance to be trampling on that and to be not only spitting in the face of it, but being so bold about it as to continue to do this in different states across the nation, it shows how fragile of a moment we are in history.
I mean, speaking of local government sort of exercising their agency, the Chicago Tribune is reporting that the Chicago Treasurer is vowing to not buy U.S. bonds as protests against President Trump. Chicago Treasurer Melissa Conyer-Irvin announced just yesterday that she's going to launch a boycott against investing the city's cash in the U.S. Treasury Department securities in protest to Trump. What do you think about that?
I think it's a bold move. I think it's a bold move that it's certainly setting a precedent. And I think we'll see if it's something that's mirrored in other cities across the nation with other treasurers. In general, in terms of the safeness of investing in bonds in the U.S. is actually not the best investment anyway. So not only for the political ramifications, but also just for sound investment purposes, this is not really the time to be betting on the U.S. Rebound. This is the time to invest in gold and other things that are more of a steady indicator of what the economy is going and what we can actually bank on for our particular treasury. But this is absolutely something that is history making. It's noteworthy, and she's right to say in no uncertain terms to invest money where people actually show they care about you. And most times, it's usually you're talking about corporations like Target, but in this case, unfortunately, she's referring to the federal government.
I mean, is this a tactic that we could potentially see other cities really take on? I mean, and just to give our leaders, learners, and listeners a sense of the impact of this, as reported by the Chicago Tribune, the city of Chicago has held over $200 million in Treasury securities within the past 3 years, though it doesn't hold the securities now, but there is over $1.5 trillion with a T, $1.5 trillion invested in Treasury securities by states and local municipalities across the country. And so if this were to catch on, and if other local municipalities, if other states were to take the same approach, talk to us about what that could mean in terms of the federal government's fiscal house.
Yes, I mean, absolutely. Not only actions like this, where you're talking about taking $1 trillion out of the coffer of the United States government and its securities, but also actions similar to this in the vein of states threatening to withhold their federal taxes. I mean, there's a lot of different ways in which people are using the power of the purse on the city level, on the state level, to make their voice heard and make their voice clear, just as the federal government has done that in the other direction. So it's interesting to see the way in which politics has been action and weaponized through the economy and through financial decisions like this. So I think this will be the first of many Treasury departments to speak up in this way. And I think there'll be other states who are speaking up, talking about withholding federal taxes, as long as the federal government is doing things that seem to be so clearly irresponsible.
Yeah. And while we have you in our remaining moments, we know that just yesterday, it was reported by USA Today and other outlets, Reverend Jesse Jackson, civil rights leader, former U.S. presidential candidate, has been hospitalized. What's the mood in Chicago right now? He obviously means a lot for this country, for people of conscience around the world. But what's the mood in Chicago in light of Reverend Jackson?
Well, Reverend Jackson certainly is a leader of leaders across the nation, internationally renowned, but in Chicago in particular, he's a giant. So for one of our giants, particularly during a time where it feels like there's battles on every front, we need every leader, every general, every giant we have to be on the front lines, to be advocating, to be organizing, to be lending voice. It hurts to hear that one of our own, our history makers, is feeling and dealing with this level of ailment. But he's been dealing with it for over about a decade now, and he's been fighting valiantly. His family has been asking for prayers, and certainly we're going to echo those sentiments here at Social Change. But at the end of the day, this is time for us not only to say prayers for our elders and our other leaders, but for other people who hear that and feel bad about that, to say, okay, well, what can I do? Recognizing that some of our elders, some of our seniors will have to stand down because of health or other reasons, because now is the time.
Yeah, now is the time. Now is the time. And we want to thank you for that reflection on Reverend Jackson. And we want to send love to our colleague, Jesse Jackson Jr., my colleague here at KBLA. His show's on in the afternoon, and I know he has been with his dad. He means so much to all of us, but of course, he meant so much to them because that's their dad, right? And he is still there. He is still fighting. And so, again, our thoughts and prayers are with the Jackson family. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Chicago, who are, as my grandmother would say, praying with their hands and praying with their feet.
Yes. Well, thank you for that sentiment, good doctor. Any other good energy you can throw us, we need it all. We're definitely ground zero for here.
Absolutely. Todd, quickly, where can people go to tap into some of the work that's afoot with your organization, Social Change?
Yeah, absolutely. All the things we're talking about is just the tip of the iceberg of what we're actually working on day to day in Chicago, doing everything from providing free legal clinics to free farmers markets to opportunities for people to get warm clothes during this very exciting season. Check us out at socialchange.site, or at Chi Social Change, CHI Social Change on X, Twitter, and Facebook. Get involved. Now is the time we need it.
Our thanks to Todd Belcourt, Executive Director of Social Change, Civil Rights Attorney, and a More Perfect Union contributor. You are listening to A More Perfect Union more when we come forward. Thank you, Todd.
The audience is listening, thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A new report says young Americans are struggling to buy homes. Experts say the vast majority of young Americans cannot buy a home without a lot of help.
And if they're not subsidized by their families or parents and able to, contribute to buying a home, you forget about it.
For the Black community, only about 44% of Black households own their homes compared to roughly 65% nationwide. Friday is National Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. Schools nationwide will honor Bridges' historic role in desegregating Southern schools. In 1960, at just 6 years old, she became the first Black child to attend an all-white elementary school in the South. And a security guard who lost her assault case against rapper Cardi B is asking for a new trial, but Cardi's lawyers called the motion baseless. A hearing is set for December 5th. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Elysian Park on the 110 southbound delays from Stadium Way all the way to Manchester Avenue. Northbound delays out of South LA from the 105 heading back to the 5. Slowing down on that 101 northbound leaving Hollywood from Santa Monica Boulevard. Delays all the way to White Oak in Encino. And Burbank 5 northbound pushing back from Hollywood Way and stretches all the way to the 14. The 14 in Santa Clarita northbound crowded from the 5. You're on the brakes and stretches looking a lot better by the time you make your way to Soledad Canyon Road.
Escape the confines of the city for the expansive beauty of the Santa Ynez Valley with a short 2-hour drive up the coast. Let Chumash Casino Resort be your destination getaway. Welcome to freedom. Go to chumashcasino.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers shouldn't feel too bad about getting mistreated Wednesday night by Denver Nuggets center Nikola Jokic. The three-time MVP has been doing that to everybody this season. In Denver's 11 games, Jokic is averaging 35.8 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, and is shooting 73.9% from the floor. The 55 points Jokic dropped on the Clippers Wednesday night matched a single-game high this season. Oklahoma City's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 55 against Indiana on October 23rd, but he needed a double overtime to do it. Jokic had his way with the Clippers in just 34 minutes. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, at age 37, is having an MVP-type season. He leads the NFL with 25 touchdown passes. Stafford and Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert are in the top 5 in passing yardage. Herbert is second with 2,610 yards. Stafford is fourth with 2,427. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yeah. The holidays can be a time of increased stress for those struggling with opioid or stimulant addiction. They can also be a time for pause, reflection, opportunity, and new beginnings. This holiday season, choose treatment and recovery, embrace the company of family and friends, and create special moments. Find a proven opioid or stimulant addiction treatment provider near you at choosechangeca.org.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. And listen, yesterday I had shared with you the story about SZA. You know the R&B artist, SZA? Well, SZA is partnering with the Los Angeles restaurant, one of my faves, John and Vinny's, to offer free meals to SNAP recipients. I think this is so cool. I think SZA is so cool. I think John and Vinny's is so cool, particularly the John and Vinny's on Slauson. No shade to the other John and Vinny's. I've been to that one and the one on Fairfax. But of the two, I really like John and Vinny's on Slauson. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. And CBS News is reporting that Grammy Award-winning artist SZA is partnering with this LA-based restaurant, John and Vinny's. So for our leaders, learners, and listeners that aren't in LA, when you come to LA, check out John and Vinny's. I think it's so cool that they have joined forces to provide free meals to SNAP recipients who've been affected by the government shutdown. And in a social media post, the restaurant chain announced that the singer, whose real name is Solana Imani Rowe, reached out to them with an idea to help those in the community, and they've turned it into reality. Just like that. SZA wrote in a post, quote, "Y'all know how much I love John and Vinny's, but it ain't no fun if the homies can't have none." And so over the next week, John and Vinny's will be working with SZA's charity. It's called Not Charity, to provide 1,400 free meals to LA community members who receive SNAP benefits. Each meal will be available as takeout from John and Vinny's Slauson location from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So that's the window, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So if you're listening to this right now and you are a SNAP recipient and you're looking to get a solid meal from John and Vinny's tonight, you got another 20 minutes until the window for today closes. But participants will need to register to receive a meal by emailing notcharity@johnandvinny's.com. That's notcharity@johnandvinny's.com, JONANDVINNYS.com. John and Vinny's will be giving up to 4 meals per family. And so major shout out to SZA and the folks over at John and Vinny's. Now, this next story is an example of what not to do. So I just gave an example of what to do when you're really operating in community, and half of it is simply just showing up. Half of it is really just pulling up. The other half of it, or I should say the other story here, is a case book study in terms of what you shouldn't do. The LA Times reporting that Edison's CEO, Pedro Pizarro, we've been talking about Pedro for a few weeks now. Edison CEO Pedro Pizarro, he vows swift payments to fire victims, saying that utility equipment likely at fault in the Eaton fire. Let me explain. Edison International's CEO said on Wednesday, that's just yesterday, that the utility expects the first Eaton fire victims who have agreed not to sue the utility to get their settlement offers later this month. And in an interview, Pizarro said that the utility decided to create the program to pay victims before the fire investigation was complete, to get money to them more quickly, and because it has become more apparent that the company's equipment ignited the inferno that killed 19 people. More than 6,000 homes and other properties were destroyed in the January 7th fire that started under an Edison transmission tower in Eaton Canyon, and the flames damaged an additional 700 to 800 homes. That's according to Edison. Those homes, as well as more than 11,000 others, were damaged by smoke and ash, and they're eligible for compensation under Edison's plan. And to receive the money, the victims must agree. This is the catch. They must agree not to sue Edison for the fire. That's the agreement. Now, I've been working in community for most of my adult life. And I know that trust is an essential building block in doing anything with any community. And I think it's strange that Pedro Pizarro, the CEO of Edison International, seemed to have found the time to do this interview with the LA Times. as you know, Tavis Smiley has mentioned in the editorial that's now running on KBLA. He found the time to do an interview with the LA Times, but couldn't find the time to show up at a community town hall at Victory Bible Church in Pasadena last week. He found the time to do an interview with the LA Times, but says he'd gladly do an interview on KBLA, which he has not bothered to schedule. It's a little strange. And let me just say this. If we can't trust you to show up to answer our questions, what's in the fine print related to this compensation fund? Look, I get it. This isn't about shaming anybody who, may decide that getting money from this compensation fund is the best idea for themselves, for their families. This is not about shaming people, right? Do what you need to do. But this is about respecting the community enough to be able to answer people's questions. We're talking about folks who have lost everything. Everything. I've spoken to residents of Altadena who will never get those family photo albums back. I've spoken to residents of Altadena that aren't going to get those family photos back. They're not going to get those memories back. They're not going to get their loved ones back. And if Edison International is keeping it real, if Pedro Pizarro is keeping it real, at a minimum, these people deserve the opportunity to be able to ask you any question they have related to this compensation fund on their turf, on their terms. It's not hard. And I'm a little baffled that a company like Edison really seems to be missing the point when it comes to community engagement. This isn't us unfairly, making an example out of Pedro Pizarro. This is all about holding folks accountable to the people of Altadena who've lost so much. You can't say that you are here for the community and you want to do right by the community when you don't show up. We don't deem the community worthy of your time. And so whether it's Pedro Pizarro who's listening or his team or anybody that works at Southern California Edison that puts that badge on, that goes to work for Southern California Edison, you may want to send Pedro a note. You may want to send his team a note and help them understand how much they are missing the moment. A moment to build trust. Trust that is quickly eroding. Be more like SZA and the folks over at John and Vinny's. In other words, Southern California Edison, under the leadership of Mr. Pizarro, do better. The people of Altadena deserve that much. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report scams, and update your software. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your protection today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. In a few hours, I'm going to be headed back to Washington. But air travel is feels like a weekly occurrence for me these days. But if you're like me, many of you may be wondering, well, what's next for airlines and flight schedules now that the government is reopened? When I came back to LA from DC, you might remember I got caught up in the snarl, the travel snarl at the airport. Had to stay overnight in Dallas. But NBC News is reporting that President Trump, on Wednesday night, he signed a bill that reopened the government after 43 days, a record, paving the way for airlines to restore regular flight schedules and air traffic controllers who've not been receiving pay as they worked around the shutdown to return to work. But this is what's unclear. It remains unclear when full flight schedules and paychecks are going to be restored after the Federal Aviation Administration was forced to mandate flight restrictions at 40 high-traffic airports last week. And on Wednesday night, the FAA ordered that cancellation would remain at 6% on Thursday after 2 days at the rate, an initial plan to ramp it up to 10% by Friday. And so basically, even though the shutdown's over, we're still going to feel the effects of it for a little bit. And so we know that the Thanksgiving holiday is right around the corner. Let's plan accordingly. I always say that if you have business to do the day that you're traveling, you probably should fly the day before, right? Just as a rule of thumb, so you don't get caught up. I put a lot of miles up there in the air, and so just trying to help our leaders, learners, and listeners out. And speaking of helping people out, our friend Dr. Melina Abdullah, who is co-host of This Is Not a Drill right here on KBLA Talk 1580 on the weekends here. She wrote a piece in the LA Sentinel that caught my attention. I just wanted to lift it up. The headline read, "How Mamdani's Win Helps the People Save Ourselves." Seeing a lot of hot takes and a lot of think pieces about Mamdani. I saw Makani Themba, who lives in Jackson, Mississippi, publish a piece in The Nation, along with Rekia Lumumba, really celebrating Mamdani's win and making the connection between, what folks thought about Mayor Lumumba of Jackson, Mississippi, who was 34 years old when he became mayor, as I understand it. An uncommon name that folks found difficult to pronounce, and someone who sought to enact a very similar agenda. And so I think there are a lot of leaders across the country that are seeing part of their agenda and part of themselves in the rise of New York City Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani. But Dr. Molina, in her piece, she talks about how what we witnessed last Tuesday, was not a blue wave. It was a rising resistance to counter Trump's fascism and corporate taking of this country. The people's intent underlying their vote is democracy, she says, the guarantee of basic needs and disruption of oligarchy. Nothing makes the case clearer than the election of Zoran Kwame Mamdani, 34-year-old Muslim democratic socialist, rapper, and lifelong activist who's been deeply influenced by hip hop, the artivism of his mother, and the decolonial intellectualism of his father. And Dr. Melina Abdullah writes, many of us have been taken by Mamdani's warm smile, his genuine nature, his apparent kindness and humility, and embrace of everyday people. And she writes about how she loves the way that he lives Islam, his deference to Black intellectualism, struggle, and culture, his quick wit, his respect for women and engagement with people. His background is inspiring. And she also talks about, although there are areas of disappointment, for example, when challenged, he apologized to NYPD for his previous defund the police stance. And although on record as supporting reparations for the descendants of slavery, he has no plan for it, nor does he have a comprehensive Black agenda. And so Dr. Abdullah writes, what she seeks to offer is less about Mamdani than the intentions of the voters who elected him and what it means for the Democratic Party and the nation. And so I think so many people are reflecting very deeply on what this win for Zoran Mamdani, the mayor-elect of New York City, what that means for leadership in their communities. What does it mean for the issues that most people talk about at the kitchen table? What it means, for a Democratic Party that seems to be fading in relevance when it comes to the things that people are talking about at their kitchen tables. And so I really welcome this discourse. This show, More Perfect Union, we make it our business to uplift the voices of leaders on the front lines, of the people who are shaping our culture day in and day out, people who offer us their expertise and informed opinion, because it's on all of us to do the work to build a more perfect union. It's not just some old dusty piece of paper with a lot of platitudes and aspirations, but we got to live it, and we got to live it in the best of times. And sometimes we got to live it in what feels like the worst of times. But, mark my words, I think the surest way that we get to the other side of this movement to build a more perfect union is together, in community, locking arms with people where you may not agree 100% on everything, but you are tethered to a set of values and you agree with each other, and more importantly, respect one another enough to press on. And so my thanks to my colleague, Dr. Melina Abdullah, for the piece that she published in the Los Angeles Sentinel. I encourage all of our leaders, learners, and listeners to check it out. Again, the headline reads, How Mamdani's Win Helps the People Save Ourselves. And of course, you can always listen to Dr. Melina Abdullah right here on KBLA Talk 1580 on the weekends on This Is Not a Drill, which is powered by Black Lives Matter Grassroots. When we come forward in our next hour, I am really looking forward to talking about an issue that I have worked on and care so deeply about. It is National Caregivers Month. And if you haven't already, at some point in your life, you're either going to be a caregiver or you're going to need a caregiver. In fact, the care economy is a big part of what makes this country move. And so when we come forward, I'm going to be joined with Dr. Randall Wright. Dr. Randall Wright to talk about the latest when it comes to this issue that touches just about every family and every single household. We're going to do a look back and a look forward. It's National Caregiving Month. There's a caregiver in your midst. Tell them thank you. Tell them we thank them. Tell them how much they do that makes us a more perfect union each and every day. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Washington, D.C.'s Black Mayor Muriel Bowser wants ICE removed from a federal task force after a viral video showed a man screaming for help while being arrested during a D.C. police traffic stop. ICE says the Venezuelan man was detained over a deportation